I think Bitcoin is a better gold than gold. You can move it at the speed of light. You can see with the Lightning Network evolving that pretty soon we'll have 1 billion people able to move any block of Bitcoin anywhere friction free. And so Bitcoin is digital money for the 21st century. Gold was metallic money for the 19th century. So I just think if you believe in sound money, then you should do yourself a service and you ought to sell your gold and you ought to buy Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is sound money for the 21st century and gold was sound money for the 19th century. Just that simple.
Hey guys, welcome back to Library of Wealth. Today we have Micheal Saylor on the rising value of Bitcoin and the collapse of fiat money. Saylor believes that because Bitcoin has a 4 to 8 year time horizon, this is a game of patience. He advises to use the time-honored investment technique of purchasing high-grade, rare, desirable property and keeping it forever. He says the best way to give out mass amounts of free commodities is to make it digital. In a collapsing currency environment, it's best to have a negative working capital and debt than to have equity. Let's listen to Micheal Saylor as he gives his take on the Bitcoin market, the collapse of fiat currency, and who is a speculator or an investor. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here on this channel. Let's get right into the video.
You got to take a 4-year or longer time horizon. Bitcoin is outperforming everything in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 years. So it's that simple. What you want to do is get rich slowly, not get rich quick. And that means that the time-tested technique for investment is you buy high-quality, scarce, desirable property and you hold it forever. And you just got to figure out what is scarce and desirable and high quality. I don't hate on the gold people. I wish they wouldn't hate on me. It's not I don't get the idea. The point I'm trying to make is you want to give music to 1 billion people, give them free digital music. And if you want to give money to 1 billion people, give them digital money. And if you want to give education to 1 billion people, give them digital education. And I love the Steinway piano, and I love a gold watch, you know? And I love MIT in the classroom, but you got to go forward. You can't go back if you want to make the world a better place. If anybody looks at what I've said consistently since September of 2020, what I've said is Bitcoin is scarce, desirable property, and I intend to hold it forever. For the rest of my life, I'm not a speculator. And what I've also said is if you're in a collapsing currency environment, you should have negative working capital. You're better off to have debt than to have equity. And what's happened in the past 2 years is currencies have collapsed. You were better to have debt than equity. When I told people that I like mortgages, the mortgage rate was 2.7%. Mortgage rates nearly doubled, and if you had a chance to take a mortgage at 2.8% and you waited till the mortgage rates went to 5.2%, the cost of your home just went up by 80%.
Saylor advises against holding cash that is rapidly losing 20% of its value, especially when mortgages are cheap. He says the key to maintaining generational wealth is purchasing desirable assets with cheap money and then holding onto it forever. Saylor says if you have a time horizon for more than 2 years, you can choose to lose some money or double your earnings.
So paying off your home with cash is probably not a good idea when mortgage rates are cheap. Holding cash that's losing 20% of its value is not a good idea. That the blue dollar rate is 300 pesos to the dollar. I keep pointing this out. So I think what people... some people just want to find something skeptical or critical to say, but telling people that they ought to buy desirable things and take cheap money to do it and hold it forever is simply the way that you preserve generational wealth, and it's worked that way for a long, long time. And it still works that way. So, I don't apologize for saying I like cheap mortgages, and I don't apologize for saying people should buy Bitcoin. Everybody can decide how much Bitcoin they want to buy versus how much land versus how much art versus how much whatever else they want to own. 2 years ago, Bitcoin was $10,000 a coin. And since I started, gold is down 15% and Bitcoin is up 100%. So for everyone that has the time horizon more than 2 years, your choice is lose 15% of your money or double your money. And if you have a time horizon of less than 2 years, you can't reasonably think of yourself as an investor. You're just a trader or a speculator. If you always adjust it to be less than 2 years or less than a year, then you're always a speculator, right? If you're an investor, you're taking a 4-year time horizon or a 10-year time horizon or a 30-year time horizon. So it's much more,
And, I'll speak
any
to
advice you're giving to
couple-
someone for 2 months is just trading advice, and I don't give anybody
I
trading
can
advice.
say,
We've been in a recession since March of 2020. If you calculated or if you estimated the economy based upon real output and then you adjusted it for the strength of the currency, if the currency loses 20% of its purchasing power and the economy is flat, then you contracted the economy by 20%. So the currency's lost 40% of its purchasing power in the past 2 years. If the economy grew 5%, you're down 35%. So yeah, we're in a recession, but I'm not a macroeconomist, and I don't really care to engage in the debate about what is the definition of a recession or not. Right, it's above my pay grade. The dollar is the strongest medium of exchange in the world, and so it is strengthening against other currencies. But the currencies are the weakest store of value. The foreign currencies are weak store of value assets. So foreign currencies are collapsing. Like South American currencies, African currency, Sri Lankan currency, Middle Eastern, Turkish currency, Lebanese currency, Russian, Ukrainian currencies. Russia, I guess, doing better because they're tied to commodities. But I think that you've got a basket of strong currencies to be pegged to the dollar, and they're losing 15% of their value or more a year against scarce assets. And then you've got weak currencies that are losing 15% of their value against the dollar, right? If we look, the South African Kruger rand, the Korean won, the Great British pound, the euro, they're all down 11 to 13%. Polish is down 16%, the yen's down 18% over the course of about a year. So they're collapsing against the dollar. And then the developing markets are collapsing 40% against the dollar. So do I think it'll continue? Yeah. I actually think that in a digital world, the 8 billion people want to hold the dollar. They don't want to hold a local currency. So if I could swap, name a currency in South America you want to hold other than the dollar. There isn't one. So the only thing that keeps people from swapping all their local currencies for dollars is whether they trust Tether, or whether they can get access to Tether or Circle, right? Right, because UST wasn't a trustworthy dollar, right? And maybe you can't get access. But I think that there's no doubt if you're looking at your bank freezing your assets and devaluing your assets in local currency, you want to hold the US dollar as your medium of exchange. And you want a simple world, or a simple way to see the world. If you need your money in less than 4 years, you probably want to keep it in the dollar. And if you need your money in more than 4 years, if you want to hold it between 4 and 40 years, you put it in property. And the best property in the world is Bitcoin.
According to Micheal Saylor, if you are constantly adjusting your time horizons to be less than 2 years, this means you're a speculator. On the other hand, if your horizons are long-term, this means you're an investor. Saylor notes that we've been in a recession since 2020, and the economy has lost 40% of its purchasing power in the last 2 years. Even though the dollar is the most powerful medium exchange in the world, currencies are the weakest store of value. Because fiat currencies are collapsing, most people don't want to hold on to a local currency. Saylor advises to keep money in the dollar in the short term, but in the long term invest it in Bitcoin because it's the most reliable property on the market. What do you guys think about Micheal Saylor's opinion on the importance of time horizons and where Bitcoin is headed this year? Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.